Yes, I'm from Sydney. I don't know how many Australians we have in the room. I've worked for CSIRO. It's a research organization that does a lot of applied research, and I've done a lot of work in AR, VR as applied to industry solutions. My talks will be full of videos to show you some concrete work that have taken place from proof of concept to real solution deployed at a site and evaluated in order to assess the business value of this. So I'll start off with the earlier work in AR that really demonstrated the value of augmented reality. Its real value is really in reduction in time on task, because you have the information overlaid in your line of sight, but also a significant reduction in error. And Professor Steve Feiner have established this about 15 years ago. Of course, at that time, the wearables were quite bulky and things have changed, but the value proposition is still the same. It's really been identified that if you have to look at the information you need and it's a piece of paper versus having it in your line of sight, you're more likely to make errors and take more time to perform your task. When you are in a maintenance scenario, often information is actually not enough. And here we have a case scenario where you do have the information that is in the documentation, but the maintenance worker is not able to follow the information and do the repair. And this is what they come up with. And you see on the left side, it's dramatically different from what the documentation was asking. So what I'm alluding to is having access to information is great, but having access to an expert is even better, especially when the task is complex. This is a video of a solution that we developed called for remote assistance, and we built it for Boeing. I don't know if the audio is working. Can someone look at the audio? So instead of calling the expert and trying to get their assistance over the phone, or instead of flying in the expert, and that costs a lot to remote operation, you click a button and you have instant communication with your specialist. You're able to demonstrate with your hand what needs to be done. What particular way you need to turn, for example, a knob.
Can you please use your touch to show me the side of the machine? There should be 3 connectors there. Can you reach it with the touch? I need you to disconnect the leftmost connector there. And can you put it on this one? Okay, yes.
We initially designed it for the mining industry, but we also have a different form factor that allows you to just have a head-mounted system that you can adjust the way you want it, whether you're wearing prescription glasses, safety glasses, or whatever.
The worker is seeing the hand gesture of the expert, but also the expert can show some technical documents that are relevant to the workspace and do annotation on top of those documents. The technology that we developed doesn't need any training. Both the expert and the worker has audio headset, so they are able to speak to each other in real time. We have added a touch-like device to the worker unit. In addition to the camera in the touch, we have added a scanner so that the worker can use the tags in the workspace to retrieve information like technical documents, manuals, or instructional videos.
There is a wide range of applications for this technology, and the industry that would benefit from it include health, transport, mining, shipping.
We see tremendous value in using the remote guided systems for manufacturing and assembly, training, maintenance, and emergency repair. With the remote guided system, a single expert can assist multiple operators located at geographically separate locations.
All aspects of the network communication are secure. The connection, the communication between the expert and worker, and the data.
CSIRO has customized the systems to our needs, enabling us to view technical drawings and record the interaction between the expert and the operator.
It's important to have this recording feature so that the field worker, after being assisted by a specialist, can revisit the interaction that they had with the specialist. Second of all, it's important for the specialist because then they have a record of what has taken place. Instead of flying in the expert, and that costs a lot to remote operation, you have that expert when you need it, real time. It's like having a specialist with you in the room, in front of the machine. So we do know that there are a lot of people working in this space, but this is just one example of how you can implement this remote expert solution. We did a trial at Boeing in Seattle about 3 years ago, and to assess whether people will adopt this technology and get also some feedback from them in terms of what additional feature would be in need. We also uncovered some interesting value space. They were telling us that integration of inspection with maintenance could be something valuable. But most of anything, one of the aspects that they really felt was extremely valuable is, again, this issue of upskilling the workforce. And we heard quite a few speakers today talking about the notion of the importance of upskilling the workforce. Oops. Can we lower the volume, please? So this is more futuristic. This is how you can do remote assistance, but in 3D. So we developed this solution because we thought we want to also help company uncover and imagine what it would be like to assist remotely when the expert is able to see in 3D, but also when the expert is able to guide and assist with their hand in 3D. So I'm here being guided in building a Lego toy by my colleague who's playing the expert. And he's seeing in 3D because we have a Kinect camera that is scanning the workspace. And this is all rendered in his headset. But there's also a Kinect camera that is actually capturing his hand in 3D, and we're collocating the hand of the expert in the remote workspace. And that allows him to see in 3D, change his point of view the way he wants, but also guide me in 3D because he is able to put his hand in between objects. So this is just a proof of concept. We actually cheated because we didn't actually send all of the 3D model from one computer to the other. We actually put it all local in order not to have the transmission problem and the bandwidth requirement that goes with it. But this is to show that it's doable. And this was work we did about 3 years ago. This is another piece of work that a PhD of mine, a student of mine did. Here it's, I think we have a video here. Maybe, maybe not. So this is just an Oculus Rift with a 3D camera. Yes. And here we have two people working together, building a Lego a puzzle. And with the hand, they are able to pick up the virtual object and displace them. But in this case, the two players are in two different rooms. So you're bringing people, you're creating this 3D interactive space where people not only are visualizing a shared workspace, but also acting in this shared workspace and are able to pick pieces and position them. So these are examples of how you can create new ways of working with others, some real concrete applications for this in industry, where you're merging the digital with the physical, but you're also creating a space where people are interacting as if they were co-located. And the key sweet things about this is that it's enabling rich embodied experience because you're using your own body for the interaction. You don't have anything in your hand. You're using your own hand for the gesture and so forth. Another example of where we used wearable but not to innovate in industry is a work that we did with a startup company called SmartCap. And what they were interested in is really look at truck driver fatigue. And using EEG signal that is embedded in a cap, we were able to collect data about the driver. So it's not the industrial IoT here, it's the data about yourself. And how you can use this data using some clever machine learning techniques to be able to predict microsleep. And then display that information back to the driver in their screen or using a headset in order to allow them to manage the fatigue while they drive. And this is another concept. This is still just a proof of concept, and I'll let you see this video. And we can't hear anything, it looks like. Up.
An operator uses an app to record her actions and a wearable sensor to capture her cognitive load. After the exercise, she uses sensor to review her actions and her cognitive load at the same time. This helps her identify errors caused by high mental load. Whilst we're designing for an aviation scenario, we believe there are applications across industries, including transport, emergency services, health and training.
So with this idea of empowering and augmenting the field work, we want them to be able to learn about on the job while they are being assisted by others. But we also want them to learn about themselves, to learn what mental state they're in, and are they able to receive any additional information, or are they at risk of making errors. And this is where wearable sensors integrated with the AR could play a nice role. I guess that's what I just said. So these are 3 examples of work we're doing in Australia with company, with real end users, and moving from proof of concept to trial in the field, and in the case of remote, even commercialization. If you want to hear more about my work, please reach out to me. My name is Leila Alem.
Thanks, Leila. Did I pick up the right mic? Yeah. All right. Awesome. There are 3 of them up here. So, one obvious question here is, how do you measure cognitive load with Apple Watch? Can you speak to that?
So cognitive load, there's scientific evidence that it correlates to GSR and heart rate. So if you have good GSR data and heart rate, and you do some clever analytics, you're able to actually correlate that with cognitive load.
So,
and what we do know about cognitive load that is fascinating is that when you're highly loaded, you are very often subject to cognitive bias. That means you take shortcut and you make, that leads to often errors. And that's why it's valuable to actually monitor cognitive load.
Great. Thanks again.
My pleasure.